we are recording live from Arlington, Vermont. This is Happy Valley Hobbies, and these are hobbies that make me happy. Sorry for the slight delay of getting on time. For some odd reason, my monitors are switched. Cursor-wise, I would have to say, because I have to. Best way to describe it: when I go this way, I wind up on that monitor, and vice versa. Why I decided to do that, I don't know. But sort of another fun and exciting week for today. The idea right now is to see about turning around and broadening the gauge to the pilot truck for the locomotive, which is also including to get rid of the current pointed axles. Since we have to broaden it anyway, we're getting rid of them. But we'll pop those out, and I might have to see about this is itchy. Possibly look into possibly looking into maybe needing spacers. Something that doesn't seem to be needed on the main drivers, but for the pilot truck, we might have to go that way. First, we'll try it without, and then go, see if that actually goes from there. So it looks like no one's here yet. And the thing is that YouTube changed things again. And of course the cursor's not helping because it's going the wrong direction. You used to have it where you can actually see how many people are watching, but that has disappeared. Basically now it's, you got your chat on one side, and below is all the different suggestions for stuff, but it doesn't say, doesn't even say if you're live. Yeah, it doesn't even say that that we are live at this point. I am relying strictly on StreamYard for showing. Says there's 2 people now. Oh, comments. Oh, there, Trainman 1. Thank you for coming in. There we go. Yeah, it seems that YouTube has changed again. I think it was about a month or so ago that they decided that instead of having the comments below, they decided, we'll put them on the side. So all the for all the decades of link in the description below is now on the side. That side. And apparently they've changed, then it went back, so I'm assuming people complained, and now it's back again on, on the side. Why? Don't know. But as I was saying before, it's like the idea tonight is to turn around and change the gauge on the pilot truck, and not sure how well that's going to. I don't know if I need spacers or not. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge because the way the pilot truck is designed. Because one of the things that the axles are is that they basically took. It looks like they took a normal wheel set, put it into the frame, and then they turned around and bent over tabs and all that to sort of capture it. So if you need to replace the wheels, you either have to use a wheel puller to pull them off, or bring those flanges back up. And the thing is that it's one of those things you keep on moving metal back and forth and all that. Eventually, they're going to break. Not a fan of what they've done and all that, but it is what it is. Okay, now in that case, then let's switch over to cameras, and we'll go that direction. All right. Now the camera bobbles a little bit because the backdrop is connected to what the camera is connected to, so that's the way it bobbles up and down. Now, this is the pilot truck I was talking about. And as you can see here, these are the tabs I'm talking about, where it looks like they put the wheel in there and then they got a machine that sort of press them in there so they do not come out. I'm also making the assumption that is an actual 1/8. Oh, wait a second, I might not be able to do this. That is not 1/8. So, this might wind up being a very short day today. Let's see if I can get that around there. Looks like I'm going to fit it around there mostly. Don't quite have enough space to go there and there completely. I do have enough where it looks like I can actually pull it all off. Of course, it requires about 10 hands to do this. Last week I wound up going to a job interview that was pretty much 2/3 of the way to a hobby shop that I try to frequent, but it is over an hour and a half away. So it's one of those things of, since I was already there an hour closer to it, I popped in to say, yes, I'm still here. And also, if you notice that these also have pointed axles. So that's why I'm saying is that they just took a normal wheel set and put them on there, because if you look on prototypes, they don't have pointed wheel sets. So you'll be able to push it out, but it looks like the pin might be too small or too big. Oh, that's going to be annoying. How am I going to get this out there? I got it so I can actually get a good purchase on it. But this pin's too big. Can I pull it off this way? Yes, I can. All right. Yeah, that's a much smaller hole than the 1/8 inch of the drive shaft. So what size is this drive shaft? Bring. Let's see. It is metal. This is 1/16. I'm trying to think, do I have 1/16 anything around here? That's the. Ooh, wait a second. I forgot I do have a smaller one, which would be more fitting for this one. So we'll pull this one out, which has a slight kink in it, you know, sort of elbowed. The other one we got here is smaller, because I'm assuming this has either never been used or not used much. Where it's, yeah, this is pretty solid. So this one should be easier to. Center it. There we go. Yeah, it's a lot more easier to actually pull everything out. There. All right, so now we have our wheels. Now, half the wheels. Now let's turn around and pull the other two off. Now, these wheels seem to be plastic. Which is good in this case, because that means they're fully insulated, and since they're so close to the front cylinders, that means there could be a short, so that's why I think they end up going in that way. So, yeah, as far as I know, I don't have any 1/16 stock. And right now, being unemployed, getting new stuff is a little bit of a challenge. But I do have nails. I have nails over there somewhere. So I don't know if I can use the nails. That's it. Now it's it. Nails. It's the front truck itself, the pilot truck. Let's see. No. This needs a little bit too thick. But there's a hardware store nearby, and I think I can turn around and spare probably $1 or $2. This the thing is the 1/8 rod. It's rod, and I don't think you can get. I think you can get nails that thick, but you have to know what the gauge is as opposed to the inches, because I think it goes by penny size instead of that. Well, hello there, Dan. Thank you for coming in. Maybe take Dan's stickers out from underneath. And when I wound up moving everything, lost where I was gonna put all the stickers that I've gotten over the years. Alright, the plan tonight was to actually turn around and re-gauge the pilot truck. However, I made the miscalculation of that the axles were all the same size. Because the main drivers, the axles are 1/8 inch, and I have 1/8 rod, and the idea was to make more of them, but the pilot truck uses 1/16. Yeah, 1/16 axles. Right now, I do not have 1/16 axles. Here's the question: tender? Yeah, I would assume the tender's the same. Yeah, tender wheels are also 1/16. My thought process is as far as I know, I don't have anything that's 1/16. However, I do have there is a hardware store near me, within walking distance. I can see about looking for 1/16 nails. But the thing is, they go by gauge, not by inches. So 1/16 is a little bit too thick. So it might be 20. Yeah, because it also goes up the nails. Also, the gauge goes. The higher the number, the thinner the gauge. So that's backwards, but that's how they do it. Okay, so that is going to leave me with a... Oh, hello there, Kyle. Thank you for coming in. Okay. Sorry about the loud background music. Let's see. Alright, let's go there. Of course, I get it just when it's transitioning, so... Alright, Dan, how is that? I had it on 30 instead of 20. So, by the way, how are Kyle and Trainman 1 doing? Good, bad, or indifferent? All right. Thank you, Dan. It is one of those things that it's nice to have, people on the other side to basically turn around and, I don't have the big operations like Heath from Humanity Junction has, where he's got cameras and all the message feedback and etc. I completely understand. I completely understand Train Man One. I stay out of trouble because I can't afford to get out of it. Especially since now I'm technically employed. Basically, my hours from my workplace have gotten lower and lower and lower. Uh, Weathering. That's one thing I need to also practice on. I got a bunch of old, well, they're old cars, but they're newer. They're newer era. So it's one of those things I'm going to use them to practice and go from there before I start weathering on the nice equipment. I mean, take for instance this engine. It's like it's this very shiny yellow and very dark black. Definitely needs some weathering, but also some other things I need to change on it. One is take the dynamo off because 1876. I don't think the light bulb was perfected yet, or if it was perfected, it was it wasn't in common use at this point. They still have the oil lamps, which I don't have to worry. Since this is an oil style lamp, I don't have to worry about changing that. Interestingly, they were. I think they were starting to require air brakes at that time, and so I'm not touching the air brake. Another thing is in 1876, knuckle couplers. They were either just starting or they were not common. They were still using Lincoln pin. So there is like there's like a whole decade where you might see a locomotive with Lincoln pin, but you would also see an air hose on it. So the air brakes came before the knuckle coupler. One thing I am planning on doing with the couplers I do use is you would see knuckle couplers, but they have like instead of being solid, they have like a groove in it, and a groove in it, and then there's a hole in it, so they could still be used with Lincoln pin. So that's my plan on that, is figuring out how to do that, because I think using even these, even a very fine saw like this, I think the gap still might be quote unquote too big. All right, let's see. Let's put this to the side. Let's see how well the quartering is on this. I mean, I probably should use spacers on this, because as you can see, this is bouncing around a lot. Let's see. Okay, I guess that's okay that way. All right, let's see how well the quartering is. And there's the socket for that. Alright, we use this set. Alright, let's take this and get this out of the way. Oh, hello there, Randall. Thank you for coming in. Yeah, the problem is with there's so many, you wind up signing up to so many, so many channels and all that. Eventually you get to a point going like, wait, which one is which? And unfortunately you can't. I mean, like Heath, I think he's subscribed to over, I almost want to say maybe over 1,000 channels. There's no way one person can watch 1,000 channels. I mean, that's why a lot of times that I do not, when I subscribe to somebody, I don't put the notifications on because I just don't have. I mean, right now I'm unemployed, but I still don't have all the time in the world to watch. I would have to watch 24/7 on some of these, in order to watch them all. And I know that that's a lot of time. And unfortunately, now I haven't figured out a way to turn around and get paid to watch YouTube videos all day. I'm assuming someone figured it out, but I have not. All right. Now, here's the question. How are we going to connect the front rods? The way they are originally or backwards? Might be more advantageous backwards. And tweak this a little bit. Normally they're supposed to go this way, but because of the way, since I widen it up so much, it might wind up being more advantageous going this way. Also, get it right in this position. Alright, things are not going as planned. Just a little bit. If it's still not touching. I'll get half of it there. There we go. Both of them. Alright. Now, one good thing about these particular motors is that the brushes are separate, so I can wire the decoder directly onto the brushes. Or maybe not. Looks like this. I might have to cut that strip there to isolate that pin so it's not connected to the ground. Alright, now we add a, quite sure how we're doing this, but I think we need to add take this, put that through first. And put that through, this through, that like that. Stripping. That's just tight enough to get everything there. I'm going to use the smaller ones. The edge. There. This will swing over here. And the thing is that in doing all this, I'm not quite sure how it's going to hinder different clearances. We already had to mangle the crosshead. Ooh, I got this backwards. Right thought, but wrong order, or backward order. Pull that out. Pull that. Alright, this should be a much better order. Okay. So, in there. Just a bit. Now this one might have a problem. I have to turn around and press that in a little bit farther. I might. Yeah, we have a spacer, so a spacer there. That goes there. That will try to go in there. So this should give us enough space so it clears that. This is sort of a moving towards a test fitting. Just making sure everything is going the wrong way. This will clear that, so I might have to that's the thing, is when you wind up re-gauging equipment, the original clearances are pretty much gone. There. For instance, the original way the main rod was set up originally with this model. it actually, if I remember correctly, it wound up. Did it use that? It seems too big. But as we can see here, looks like things will clear. Alright, let's see on this side. Ooh. These look promising. That one does not. Somehow that slid a bit. It's not on the axle very tightly either, so. Let's see, we get this straight. Get this straight up and down, and this should be all. Okay, I did not quarter these properly, apparently, because these are straight up and down. These should be all one direction. So I'm not quite sure what I did there. But if they are all at the same angle, technically it should work. Hello there, Mr. Dodge. Thank you for coming in. And also Heath. Currently I'm in the process of trying to re-gauge the locomotives that I had, a locomotive. Originally standard gauge, but turn around and redoing them into broad gauge, 6-foot broad gauge. I'm not actually going for a specific prototype at this point. Okay. My original plan for tonight was to actually re-gauge the pilot truck. However, found out that the pilot truck, or the axles for the pilot truck, are 1/16th. And right now, I don't have any 1/16th stock that I'm aware of. The driving axles are 1/8, which I do have. But I do not have 1/16th. I might be able to get away with using nails instead of having to buy 1/16th rod, which is, I would assume, a little bit harder to get the nails. And within a walking distance of a hardware store. So we got this. Hey Heath, do you know who's doing Sidetracks Sunday? For some reason, I want to lean towards Missy, but I don't want to steer people wrong. Okay. Everything is together. Let's see about putting the other brush on. Let's see if we can actually get this thing to, get the mechanism to move. The brush itself looks like it's a little on the worn side. So this has been run a while. There we go. Okay. All right, let's see. All right, put the power pack in. Let's see. Clip there. Clip there. Go over here, plug things in. All right, we have power. All right, now we have power, but do we have movement? All right, let's look this thing. All right, nothing moved, no humming, so let's connect this a little more closer. Okay, I must have done something wrong somewhere. Because this was working. It was working before I took it apart. And it looks like I got nothing. Well, that was disappointing. No blue smoke, but still disappointing. Momentum is off, direction is that. It's showing 12 volts. It should be doing something. Unfortunately, the amp meter does not work on this, so I don't know. All right. Well, that was anticlimactic. Nissy. All right, good to know. Yeah, it looks like right now I need to find a source of find a source of 1/16th 1/16th axles, which I think I'm going to use nails. Don't know what size nails, because nails, they come in gauge, not in inches. This is interesting. It looks like this might have been modified before. I should take a piece of paper or something to sort of mark which side is the insulated side, which side is the powered side. Now these look like these are not factory washers. So that's interesting. Yeah, these look like wave washers almost. Something I don't think they would put into this style of a card. Let's say we grab some tape. Put the tape on the insulated side, because tape insulates. Of course, eventually, after I do a bunch of these, we'll get to a point where I won't have to do that. So we'll put that over there. Now, next challenge, which I won't get to the end of the night, is how to re-gauge these. I don't know if they can be re-gauged. Looks like they're it looks like there's big hydraulic press wound up pressing these together. So there's no way to repair these, even if you wanted to. Now, technically, these are also out of scale, because this is an 00 scale locomotive, so I think it's 1/76 instead of 1/87th. Reason why I picked this particular, well, there's two locomotives I actually picked. The other one, I found out that even though the axles themselves are this is the other one this is the one I was planning on experimenting on. But unlike the Mantua one, it's like a Tyco, something else along those lines. The thing is with that is that the axle is 1/8 in the center here, where the gear is. However, they machined it slightly smaller on here, so I just couldn't turn around and come in and use a 1/8 axle. Which, seeing how cheaply made this thing is, I'm actually surprised they did something like that. The only thing I could think of is that they did that so they, when they're pressing it together, they don't have to try to align it. It's like, all right, just go to the shoulder and you're there. But that was my original plan, was to re-gauge this one. But right now I don't have the skill to re-gauge this. I might. I don't know if I'll be able to do it, but maybe, take a Mantua wheel and put it on there, but then that's much more larger, so won't look right on a switcher, but oh well. Here's a quick question. It's not a quick question. I was going to say, I got this Stanton drive. I'm wondering what the that looks. I don't know what what axle they use, but it looks like it's definitely smaller than 1/8. Before requires 6 screws to pull out and all that, etc. I don't have time for that this week. But hopefully next week I can turn around and re-gauge these with nails. I don't know how well that's going to work out, but this is all experimentation, so maybe also at the same time try to figure out what I did wrong with the motor, get the motor running by itself. And pretty much go from there. All right, well, let's switch cameras. Now, one of the annoying problems, I don't know how this happened, but my cursor seems to be my cursor is sort of kind of backwards. The monitors somehow switched. So if I bring my cursor this way, it goes on that screen, and vice versa. So I'm not quite sure what went there. Also, the resolution's changed a little bit. So I don't know. But it's one of those things that I believe. I believe it's Nissy J today for Sidetrack Sunday, and that's where I'll be heading after this. But yeah, it's like the broad gauge experiment is still going on. Technically the track is, except for wiring, the track is done. Once I get when I get more confident in scenery, I might turn around and actually start doing scenery also. One of the things I gotta sort of kind of concentrate on is I can't use normal ballast techniques because this is 1876. I don't know when modern ballast came along. From what I understand, during the Civil War, it was basically they would grade it, make it all flat and all that, and they just slap the track on it with no ballast at all. Well, yeah, actually, Dan, if you go back to some of the before this project, I was doing dioramas. Figuring out how to, okay, how am I going to do stuff without actually putting stuff on the layout. Um, I do have a standard gauge layout, which right now is sort of providing the backdrop of this broad gauge one. Um, and the thing is that I'm looking at. I don't know exactly when broad gauge actually ended. A lot of the sources says, "Oh, it ended in the 1870s." It's like early, late, mid. What I do know is that a lot of the broad gauge railroads, what they did, which it's a little bit harder to do with narrow gauge, because with narrow gauge you gotta widen everything. With broad gauge, all they did was well, depending on the broad gauge, the 5 foot the 5 foot gauge they couldn't do it, but with 6 foot gauge you can actually turn around and add a third rail, make it dual gauge, and then when everything's all dual gauge, then take out the other the broad gauge rail, and there you go. So it was a lot more. Uh, it was easier for the broad gauge railroads to change over to, or financially easier to transfer over to the standard gauge than narrow gauge railroads. Um, and there was also a discussion. I'm actually trying to do June of 1776. Basically they're starting to build up for the centennial. One of the things of the centennial, the bicentennial, you had the bicentennials. Every railroad had a locomotive, at least one locomotive that was red, white, and blue, or painted that way. For the centennial, there wasn't really a corporate, hey, let's spruce things up and all that. It looks like at that time it was done. It was done by the individual crews. That's why you got some that have some simple bunting or something like that, going like, hey, we're patriotic in some little way. And then you had some locomotives that they look like a parade float. You can't even tell that there's a locomotive in it. They got so much decoration on it. So that was right now. Right now, my plan is just to get locomotives, get equipment running, but then eventually add a locomotive that would be a little bit more, maybe some decorations and all that. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to go nuts with a one that is like completely decked out. One, because all those decorations make it fragile, and it takes a long time. But I actually, if I do something like that, I might use that as a contest model. Like, people would look at it going, what the hell is this? And then it's like, show a picture of, so some of the pictures of not necessarily exactly the same locomotives, because I think most of the locomotives that were decked out were all standard gauge. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to see. They don't mention what the gauge is, so there's a lot of times it's like you have to know that the railroad was broad gauge. Right now, I got for my background, I got the Middleburg from the Middleburg and Susquehanna Railroad. It's, I believe, their second locomotive, but at that time they were still broad gauge, and it's a Danforth 424 tank engine. And I think I got the picture that I got is, I've only have two pictures. One picture is, I almost want to say done by an amateur, or it has been damaged over time. But it's obviously a little bit later because of it looks relatively plain. The picture I got for my backdrop, I almost want to say it's right out, probably right out, right after it was bought. I mean, it's like all the pinstriping, the different scenes on the side of the locomotive. It's like it looks, it's all nice and polished and all that. Whereas the other one looks like, yeah, it's been working for a while. Uh, but and that's just it. It's one of those things of. Uh, I mean, I personally don't have many pictures broad gauge engines because broad gauge ended very early in the United States. There are still broad gauge out there. Mostly it's has to do with transit. Uh, in Pennsylvania, they have what they call Pennsylvania trailer gauge, which is 5 foot 2 inches. Uh oh. Now, busted is that they just canceled it, or was there a derailment, Randall? Because when you say busted, it's like, ooh, did they break something, or did they just say, no, we don't need it today? Uh, well, it is now 7:50. Well, 7:49. Time to end the stream so people can take a quick break before Nissy starts. So, the way I look at it, I think the world needs more love. So, find your passion, add some silliness to it, and spread it around.